Welcome to this week's episode of Victini News. This is your host, Cuban. And guys, only 2 more weeks to go. This week and next week for the regular season. And well, we are in the thick of the playoff race. After the legendary Landers have confirmed their playoff spots, we also have now the Dunsparce United and the Hyderabad Hunchcrows confirming their playoff spot. In theory, there is a possibility that they could end up 9th, but that would mean that we would have to run in such a way that they lose both matches with a 6-0, and nearly everyone else would have to win 6-0, so I'm counting them as qualified. Well, how the matches of week 6 went? Let's check them out. I'll be talking about the legendary Landers against Dunsparce United later. So we're gonna start with New York High Dragons against New York Low Kicks. The fight over supremacy in New York. We were hoping for a very hard-fought match, but after webs were set up by CB Fries with his Arachninid, everything on Supremo Mega's team was slower than the Urshifu with Choice Band. And that just clicked Wicked Blow after Wicked Blow after Wicked Blow. He did that and he had no more PP. And in the first time in my draft career, I've seen somebody use Struggle. It used Struggle and killed itself in the process, but by then every single Pokemon was already defeated besides the Quaquaval. But Iron Moth came in and easily ended the match for a 4-0 victory for the New York Low Kicks. Continuing down the line, we have the Ottawa Ordinaries taking on the Carolina Incineroars. This match, in my opinion, was once again a repeat of what we had seen several times this season, with one team just not managing to break through the other team's defensive core. Corviknight, Arboliva, and then the relatively weird set of Mimikyu with Toxic Will-O-Wisp Play Rough and Light Screen made Dracion's team and the Carolina Incineroars just too bulky for the Ottawa Ordinaries to continue their win streak, ending up in a 4-0 victory for Drakion and his team, putting him at 3-3, and lack of interest and the Ottawa Ordinaries are now at 2-4. The next match is the Fighting Lando Tees taking on the Scarlet Knights. The Scarlet Knights were hoping to stop their losing streak, but not this week, as Mega Gardevoir from the Fighting Lando Tees was perfectly prepared for anything Pandemonium had planned. Mystical Fire to stop the Volcarona from setting up, and after it had enough special defensive boosts, he switched into Toxapex to haze those away as well. Without the prep of the Mystical Fire and the haze on the Toxapex, this could have gone the other way. He really only needed Gardevoir here to deal heavy damage and win the fight on the back of his Mega. But this puts Alex into a very good spot, now being at 3-3 and, well, sitting currently on 8th place. The Scarlet Knights, on the other hand, 2-4 is still doable, but we'll be looking into that later on. Looking for victory are the Tennessee Titans, who took on the lively town Licky Licky this week. But on the back of Lightning Rod Rhydon, this wouldn't be the week for a W for Joe Mama's team, as Rhydon was very good, and for me the MVP in this matchup, as he can deal with Circuitry and Tapu Koko thanks to the Lightning Rod ability, and additionally using Dragon Tail to stop Swoobat from setting up and store power sweeping. With the switching and the damage being done, Palafin at the end just had to come in and wave crash his way to the 2-0 victory for the lively town Licky Licky. Well, maybe next week. In our battle at the top of the table, we have Admiral's Nap Squad taking on the Hyderabad Hunchcrows. This match, sadly for Admiral, was very, very hard to prepare, as Arson just had the best answers for the heavy offensive team that is the Nap Squad, with both Vacuum Wave and Mach Punch on Conkelda and Napoleon, basically removing Qian Pao, one of the biggest damage dealers from Admiral. Every time the Qian Pao is on the field, Empoleon or Conkelda come in and scare it away with their priority fighting moves. Not only that, Arson did something I think he has done several times this season, is lead Dragapult and click Will-O-Wisp, trading a burn for whatever the opponent is using. But Admiral was smart enough and actually had aromatherapy prepared on Florges, a very interesting and very good prep on his part, getting rid of the burn on the Mega Aggron and also a poison on the Slowking. He tried, but the matchup was just not in his favor, and it ended up with a 4-0 victory for the Hyderabad Hunchcrows against the Nap Squad. In our second to last match, we had the Oregon State Medusa taking on the Oslo Okodogis. And here we saw the Ndidi from Green Purple Boy dying very early, which forces out the Terrain Seed Sneasler, as he was already on a countdown, and with the Ndidi gone, he had to go in against the Sarah Aura. Not an opponent he wants to switch in, as he can't freely set up against it. He managed to beat the Sarah Aura, but without the setup, the Charizard came in and one-shot the Sneasler, removing one of the biggest pieces on Oregon State Medusa's team. He tried his best, bringing in Pelipper, who did huge damage with a Hurricane into the Walking Wake, to then switch into Hooper Unbound, who managed to dodge Draco Meteor and take the kill on the Wake, helping him to give a very good position. But then we saw Clefable revealed Sunny Day. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. I personally had to deal with this as well. If Sunny Day is up, Hurricane becomes a 50% accuracy move. So instead of it being the biggest weapon for Green Purple Boys team, it became the biggest weakness, as both Pelipper and Kilovatral lost a huge chunk of damage due to the fact that the accuracy is incredibly low. And with the constant switch into the weather and the sunny day weather on the Hurricanes, the Oslo Kodokis slowly but surely managed to whittle down the Green Purple Boys team and take the 2-0 victory. And in our final regular match, we had the Boom Burst Backhammer taking on the ABBs. And early on in the match, it looked like Glitchy Mix's Primarina could be the game changer, as it did massive damage to Alicalcos' team. But if Prim was the secret weapon from Glitchy Mix, Volcanion was the secret weapon from Alicalcos, as it came in and revealed Sludge Wave to take the KO on the Primarina. Additionally, it took another KO on the Heatran and do massive damage against the Hydrapple, paving the way for Roaring Moon, which, thanks to Protect, managed to beat the Low Kicks. In the end, Hydrapple did beat the Roaring Moon in a 1v1, But Volcanion came in and cleaned up and won the match for a 3-0 victory for Alicalcos. And our final match of the week, it's Grandmaster Cake against Effie Master. For all the hype and the excitement we had for this match, it was over before it even began. If you went to the toilet at the beginning of the match, you might have missed the whole match. But this is how it can go between two very strong teams. The Yancy from Effie Master just started to set up calm mines and rock polishes, and then revealed stored power. And we all know how stored power goes. If the Pokemon can't be stopped, it clicks stored power 6 times and gets a 6-0 victory. There was a small chance for Cake to get back into this match, as he had extreme speed on Zygarde. Hopefully, this is a lesson learned for Cake, as he's now prepared for potential stored power shenanigans shall they face again in playoffs, as both are confirmed for playoffs. Hopefully the rematch will not be like this. Other than this, we have pick'ems. You thought I forgot about it? I did not. After going through every week and hopefully counting everything right from what I saw, it should be right. Our current standings is, well, Cake lost his first position in the league, but kept his first position in pick'ems, currently leading with 25 points. Second place is Viking with 22 points. And then we have 3 people in a row with Red Sox Alex on 19 and Effie Master and Joe Rubin from Mew with 18 points. With the season slowly but surely ending and the playoffs not really bringing a lot of points, we will see if Cake can hold his lead, if somebody else can manage to snag the pick'ems crown. It's time! It's nickname of the week time. This week's winner is the Primarina from Glitchy Mix called Julio Primarillo. This had a little bit of a controversy behind it, as after we had chosen it, our Spanish moderator, Ford, came up and said that this could be a combination of Primarina and Amarillo. Amarillo is the Spanish word for yellow. Glitchy Mix did not use a shiny Primarina during his match. He rather wanted to see the Spanish knife that was the nickname of the Aegislash win, but he was overturned as we had more votes on it. For me, it rolls really nice over the tongue. Primarillo sounds smooth and melodic, perfect for singing Pokemon. Also, because it slightly sounded like Italian brain rot, you know, Bombadillo, Crocodillo. So I got stuck with that and we decided on it. And on the other side, we have favorite set of the week. Drakeon's Mimikyu. And honestly, this was my MVP of the week. This Mimikyu was such a smart prep. Light Clay for Light Screen to basically deal with Ursaluna and potentially Zoroark, massively lowering the damage that those two could hang out. Then having Will-O-Wisp for the Feraligatr and for the Lopunny, while having Toxic for the Terrapagos and Play Rough as the normal stab move. With all of these moves, every single one had an effect in the match. Early on, he set up Light Screen, basically crippling to an extent the Ursaluna. He missed his Will-O-Wisp against the Feraligatr, but managed to Toxic both Terrapagos and Lopunny. When the Ditto turned into the Raging Bolt, an ally of the Mimikyu, Play Rough was the perfect attack for that mon. So with all of these things, I think this is my favorite set of the week. It's not your typical Mimikyu, but it worked to perfection. Very nice cook, Drakion. Let's look at this week's schedule. We have the legendary Landorus taking on the New York Hydreigons. Cake has already confirmed his ticket to playoffs, while Supreme Omega, with 4 wins, has a very good position for making it into playoffs. But his opponents are very hard. Both Cake this week and Arson next week are going to be rough for Supreme to beat. If he wants to be in the playoffs, he has to beat the higher ranked people. Our second match is between Lack of Interest and CB Fries. Both teams are the direct contenders for this playoff spot, but Lack of Interest has to win this week. With only 2 wins, 4 losses, his record does not look good, but winning against CB Fries here puts the ball in his own court as he plays Stromama next week. On the other hand, CB Fries is probably the best from the free people, as his differential is +3, the highest out of all of them. With this, he has good chances that even if he loses this week, a win against Red Sox Alex, another direct contender next week, could still net him playoffs. But who wants to rely on others? Winning this week basically confirms him for playoffs, as with a 4-3 record and an even better differential should put him above the rest and probably or minimally at 8th place. Our third match of the week is match of the week. It's Fighting Lando Tees against the Lively Town Licky Lickies. This match is the most important match for both teams this season so far. 8th place against 9th place. 3-3 against 3-3. Whoever wins here potentially or confirms a ticket to playoffs, while the loser has to hope for the others to struggle and make mistakes. I don't want to be in any of these two positions, as this is going to be season defining for both of them. I hope that this is going to be a close match, an interesting match, and that both coaches will show us that they really want to make playoffs. For our fourth match, we have the Hyderabad Hunch Girls taking on Dunsparce United. Interestingly enough, they've already played, and with their match played, they 100% confirmed themselves to be in playoffs, as there's no way for them to get to 9th place anymore, for both the winner and the loser of that match. For our fifth match, we have the ABBs taking on the Carolina Incineroars. For Drakion, this is just a taste of playoffs. If he wins against Glitchy Mix, he still has to play to win, as he plays Alicalcos next week. This week, he sets up on what position he's going to be, but next week he will have to win. We'll see if he can give himself the perfect edge, or will be falling behind and potentially needing some help from other competitors. Glitchy Mix is a special case. After all the matches, I will quickly tell you guys what the scenario would be for Glitchy Mix to make playoffs, as this is probably the most interesting out of all of them for me. So we'll see. Meanwhile, our sixth match is the Oslo Okodogis taking on the Boom Burst Backhammer. Viking against Alicalcos. Viking is in the same position as Supreme Omega, with a 4-2 scoreline and 5 differential, he looks to be in a very solid spot to make playoffs. This week, he has to beat Ali Kalkos, while next week he has to go against Effie Master. So, if he wants to make sure that he's safe, this week is easier for him to win than next week. So I'm sure he will do his best to beat Ali Kalkos. Meanwhile, Ali Kalkos, similar to Drakion, needs next week to be in this important match. He has a chance to still make it if losing this week, especially depending on how Drakion plays. But both him and Drakion share the same differential. So winning here would be huge for Ali Kalkos in setting up his chance for a playoff run. From my just short overview, only one of them will most likely make it into playoffs. Our second to last match of the week, we have the NAP squad taking on the Oregon State Bedoofs. Green Purple Boy, same situation as Pandemonium and Lack of Interest. He needs to win this week. Taking out a direct competitor in Admiral will give him a huge boost for his final match against Pandemonium. A showdown of 2 fours, potentially 3 fours next week. While Admiral will do his best to win this week, as next week, Cake is waiting. But the Dunsparce might has had a loss, but it's still out for blood. So winning this week is going to be hugely important for Admiral, getting a lot of pressure away from his shoulders for his showdown next week. And our final match is the Scarlet Knights taking on the Tennessee Titans. Pandemonium has had a rough second half of the season, being in a losing streak. The only other team to have had a longer losing streak so far is his opponent, the Tennessee Titans. For Jumama, it's basically there to get rid of that goose egg. Getting at least one win is probably what his goal is gonna be for the season. And with that, he can play spoil. He can win against Pandemonium and ruin his chances for playoffs. And as I mentioned before, Glitchy Mix, ABBs, they have one scenario where they make playoffs. Or well, not even make playoffs. Where they go into week 8 with a chance to make playoffs. They need to have the Ottawa Ordinaries, Lack of Interest, the Oregon State Bedoofs, Green Purple Boy, the Fighting Lando T's, Red Sox Alex, and the Tennessee Titans, Joe Mama, to win. If those 5 matches end up the way I just said it, there is a chance we could potentially, at the end of week 8, sit here with an 8-way 3-5 tie. It is very slim, but it is possible. While the season still goes on, the global trade systems officially closed on Monday, and we had 2 more teams make some last minute changes. The Ottawa Ordinaries getting rid of Ditto and Staraptor to make space for Togekiss and Lanoon, while the Carolina Incineroars get rid of Corviknight, Mimikyu, Galvantula and Raging Bolt to put in more power with Gouging Fire, a very strong electric steel type in Magnezone, Thunderous Farian, and Slurpuff, the secret weapon potentially. How they will do in the last 2 weeks, we'll see, but they can or break Dracion's season, as he's full on out in playoff mode now. While others are preparing for their matches, we send out Victini News Ace Reporter Stall to have an exclusive interview with one of our newest VDL coaches, Master, to get some little bit more insight about him and his team. Starting off the interview, Stoll asked him about his expectations coming into the future. And Master replied that he wasn't confident in his draft at first, worried about no defensive backbone, with only Latios having recover. And that pushed him, forced him, to using more creative sets, like the Skill Swap Diancie and a Max Defense Beskilegia, which, to his surprise, worked better than he expected. But the true turning point of the season came when Drakion showed him just how insane the Mega Pinsir damage calcs are, and he realized just how scary his offensive is. When asked about his favorite sets, he mentioned a few, being Choice Band Terror Rock Diancie, Specs GU, or Sevali, which baited out Slowking to then explode and make way for Summer Center. But after all of those, Latios is his favorite Pokemon to use this season, as every time he wanted it to do something, it has done and delivered for him. As he's already set for playoffs, Stahl was curious about his plans for the next 2 weeks. Does he want to go and continue to being serious? Does he want to go a little bit more into the funny business? Master mentioned that he already had half a team planned for Arson, which was his week 7 opponent, as we have covered this news already. And he was thinking about doing something between funny and actually working. So we'll see what he pulls out, or what he pulled out this week, and what he will pull out next week in his other matches. But that is next week, and this is the end of the interview. Stahl asked him for one last remark, and he wanted to thank all of his fans of his sets, and of course, as a true draft player always says, he's going to lose round 1 of playoffs. If he's speaking the truth, we'll find out in a few weeks' time. Thank you everyone for watching this week's episode of Victini News. Thank you again for the art, and if you're curious about any of the pictures used, you can check out the description down below. I wish you all happy cooking and good luck in your matches. Goodbye.